Hi friends, I've been thinking about our school year and it reminded me of this book, It Could Always Be Worse. And I thought that you would like this story. It's an old time tale. It's been told by many different people, different ways. But I've got a book here that can be tested on. It's an AR book, and I want you to see if it makes you think of our school year. But anyway, here's the AR number 18679. I'll say it again at the end. The title, It Could Always Be Worse, by Margot Zemak. It is a Yiddish tale retold and with pictures by Margot Zemak. Once upon a time, in a small village, a poor unfortunate man lived with his mother, his wife, and his 6 children in a little one-room hut. Because they were so crowded, the man and his wife often argued. The children were noisy and they fought. And in the winter, when the nights were long and the days were cold, life was especially hard. But the hut was full of crying and quarreling. And one day, when the poor unfortunate man couldn't stand it any more, he ran to the rabbi for advice. "Holy Rabbi," he cried, "things are in a bad way with me. And they're getting worse. We are so poor that my mother, my wife, my 6 children, and I all live together in one small hut. We are too crowded, and there's so much noise. Help me, Rabbi. I'll do whatever you say." The rabbi thought, and he pulled on his beard. At last he said, "Tell me, my poor man, do you have any animals? Perhaps a chicken or 2? "Yes," said the man. "I do have a few chickens, also a rooster and a goose." "Ah, fine," said the rabbi. "Now go home and take the chickens and the rooster and the goose into your hut to live with you." "Oh, yes, indeed, Rabbi," said the man, though he was a bit surprised. The poor, unfortunate man hurried home and took the chickens and the rooster and the goose out of the shed and into the little hut. When some days or a week had gone by, life in the hut was worse than before. And now, with the quarreling and the crying, there was honking and crowing and clucking. There were feathers in the soup. The hut stayed just as small and the children grew bigger. When the poor, unfortunate man couldn't stand it any longer, he again ran to the rabbi for help. "Holy Rabbi," he cried, "see what a misfortune has befallen me. Now, with the crying and quarreling and the honking and clucking and crowing, there are feathers in the soup. Rabbi, it just couldn't be worse. Help me, please." The rabbi listened and thought. At last he said, "Tell me, do you happen to have a goat?" "Well, yes, I do have a goat. He's not worth much." "Excellent," said the rabbi. "Now go home and take the old goat into your hut to live with you." No. Do you really mean it, Rabbi?" cried the man. Come now, my good man, and do as I say at once," said the rabbi. The poor unfortunate man tramped back home, and his head was hanging down, and he took the old goat into the hut. And when some days or a week had gone by, life in the little hut was much worse. And now, with the crying, quarreling, clucking, honking, and crowing, the goat went wild, pushing and butting everyone with his horns, and the hut seemed smaller and the children grew bigger. And when the poor unfortunate man couldn't stand it another minute, he again ran to the rabbi. "Holy Rabbi, help me," he screamed. "Now the goat is running wild, and my life is a nightmare." The rabbi listened and thought. At last he said, "Tell me, my poor man, is it possible that you have a cow? Young or old, it really doesn't matter." "Well, yes, Rabbi, it's true, I have a cow," said the poor man fearfully. "Oh, go home then," said the rabbi, "and take the cow into your hut." "Oh, no, surely not, Rabbi," cried the man. "Do it at once," said the rabbi. The poor unfortunate man trudged home with a heavy heart and took the cow into the hut. Is the rabbi crazy? He thought. And when some days or a week had gone by, life in the hut was very much worse than before. Everyone quarreled, even the chickens. The goat ran wild. The cow trampled everything. The poor man could hardly believe his misfortune. At last, when he could stand it no longer, he ran to the rabbi for help. "Holy Rabbi," he shrieked, "help me, save me. The end of the world has come. The cow is trampling everything. There is no room even to breathe. It's worse than a nightmare." The rabbi listened and thought. "At last," he said, "go home now, my poor unfortunate man, and let the animals out of your hut." "Oh, I will. I'll do it right away," said the man. The poor unfortunate man hurried home and let the cow, the goat, and the chickens, the goose, and the rooster out of his little hut. And that night, the poor man and all his family slept peacefully. There was no crowing, no clucking, no honking. There was plenty of room to breathe. And the very next day, the poor man ran back to the rabbi. "Holy Rabbi," he cried, "you have made life sweet for me. With just my family in the hut, it is so quiet, so roomy, so peaceful. What a pleasure." I love that book because really nothing ever changed. It did change, it got worse, and then it got better when he returned to just the same way it always was. Well, it reminded me of our school year because we were all crowded in the high school and in the middle school, and then when we moved back in January, it was back to our regular routine, and we felt all that peace again. And then, lo and behold, came the coronavirus and COVID-19 lockdown and stay at home. And so we can remember that it could always be worse and it will get better. So I want you to think of this as a book of hope and take a test. 18679. Bye.